I never thought my life would fracture in a single sentence, but it did. I've decided to start a new life without you. The words split the air like glass shattering, echoing across the polished walls of the upscale restaurant where we had gathered to celebrate my daughter's graduation. A place filled with laughter only moments before now sank into silence, the kind of silence that cuts deeper than sound ever could. Gregory, my husband of 28 years, stood with his champagne glass frozen midair, his toast to Amelia suspended, swallowed by his own betrayal. Silverware stilled. Conversations died mid-sentence. All around us, 50 faces turned in unison. Eyes darted between him and me, waiting, hungry for a scene, for my tears, my fury, my collapse. But I refused to perform. Instead, I smiled, a slow, steady smile that concealed the storm within me. "Congratulations on your honesty," I said, my voice sharp enough to slice through the tension. "My name is Bianca Caldwell. I am 54 years old, and until this moment, I had played my role with precision, the loyal wife, the patient mother, the woman who held her family's foundation steady. I had abandoned my own dreams so Gregory could chase his. 3 failed business ventures, 2 reinventions, endless phases of finding himself. Through it all, I raised our brilliant daughter Amelia. She sat beside me now, her graduation cap still balanced on her head, her face frozen in disbelief, her eyes wide, horrified, unable to process that her father had chosen this exact day, her day, to burn our family to ashes. And then, from the corner of my vision, I caught her. Cassandra Wells, younger, restless, sitting at a back table, shifting uneasily, as though the weight of our collective gaze might collapse her. She had sat at my dinner table, drank my wine, called me for career advice, spent Christmas under my roof. And now she sat among our so-called friends, people who had apparently known everything and told me nothing. I reached into my handbag, calm, precise, the way I always was. I pulled out a sealed, cream-colored envelope and placed it carefully beside Gregory's plate. "What's this?" His voice cracked, the triumphant edge faltering. "Something for you to read later," I replied, steady as stone. I turned to Amelia, her face pale, her future moment eclipsed by her father's betrayal. I kissed her cheek. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart. Today is still about you." Then I stood, smoothed my dress, faced the silent room. "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." And with that, I walked out. Not hurried, not broken. My head high, my steps deliberate, feeling every eye pierce my back as the heavy door shut behind me. Murmurs rose, muffled, swallowed by the thick summer air of Augusta that greeted me outside. The heat pressed against me like a wall, but I welcomed it. For the first time in years, I could breathe. Then I heard it. The restaurant door flung open, Gregory's voice chasing me down the steps, high-pitched now, frantic, stripped of power. "Bianca, what the hell is this? What have you done?" I didn't turn. I didn't pause. I let a small smile curl at the edges of my mouth. He didn't know it yet, but the envelope held the beginning of his undoing. A carefully woven trap I had been constructing for months. I was always the practical one, the saver, the planner, the one who covered Amelia's tuition when Gregory gambled on doomed investments, the one who worked overtime at Trevanta Corporation while he chased a fleeting passion for handcrafted furniture, a passion that lasted 6 months before dissolving into boredom. And through it all, my dreams, launching a consultancy for women, creating something of my own, were shelved. Always later. After Amelia graduates. After Gregory finds stability. After. Always after. But 3 months ago, I noticed something. Discrepancies in our accounts. Transfers small enough to slip under radar, but not mine. 20 years managing our family finances had trained my eyes to spot patterns, to catch what others miss. Red flags rose. I could have confronted him, but something inside told me to wait, to watch, to gather. What I uncovered sliced deeper than any affair. Gregory had been draining money systematically, moving it into an account I didn't recognize, taking Cassandra to expensive restaurants, buying jewelry, shopping for beachfront property, all while lecturing me about saving for retirement. Then came the texts. Careless. Unlocked phone. Plans for a new life together. Fantasies of freedom. Their escape scheduled for the very day of Amelia's graduation. But Gregory had underestimated me, forgotten who I was. I wasn't just his wife. I was a financial professional with 30 years of experience. I knew how to trace every dollar. I knew how to follow the scent of money until it betrayed its master. And more importantly, I remembered the prenuptial agreement he had once demanded, back when I carried more wealth than he did. An agreement with a fidelity clause that would now slit his empire wide open. So while he plotted his exit, I built my case. Attorney meetings, documented transfers, screenshots of texts, evidence, layer upon layer, divorce papers filed quietly, tucked safely away in court records, untouchable by him. The morning of the graduation, everything was in place. His script was ready, but mine was stronger. I was 3 steps ahead. Always. I didn't return to that restaurant. I drove straight home instead. Our colonial house in Augusta's historic district, the one Gregory had already promised Cassandra in texts he assumed I'd never see. 15 years of memories in those walls. 15 years of lies hidden behind polished shutters and manicured lawns. I pulled into the driveway, turned the key, stepped inside. Everything looked the same, but nothing was. The house felt like a museum of ghosts. Family photos smiled down at me from the walls. Birthdays, vacations, Christmas mornings frozen in time. The old grandfather clock, the one that had belonged to my father, ticked with steady indifference, as if mocking the chaos unraveling my life. The leather couch sat in the living room like a relic of forgotten promises. Gregory and I had once stretched across it, whispering dreams of the future. Now it was nothing but worn leather and lies. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step heavy with memory, and opened the master closet. Neat rows of suitcases lined the back wall, tucked away but ready, already packed with Gregory's clothes. He had planned everything, right down to his escape wardrobe. I almost laughed. Predictable Gregory, obsessed with the presentation, careless about the things that mattered. My phone buzzed nonstop, vibrating against my palm like a living thing. Messages stacked one on top of the other. Friends from the restaurant, Amelia, even his sister Diana, who had flown in for the graduation. I read them all, but answered only my daughter.
I'm okay.
This isn't yours to carry. Enjoy your day, sweetheart. We'll talk tonight. I love you. I had shielded her from this storm for months. I didn't want her last year of college clouded by betrayal. She would be angry when she learned the truth, but I knew she'd understand. She was a blend of both of us, my grounded strength, his effortless charm. That combination had carried her to honors. She deserved her victory untouched. Hours passed in silence. Then headlights cut across the driveway. The familiar slam of a car door. Heavy footsteps up the walk.
Bianca.
His voice roared through the house. Where are you? I sat calmly in the living room, laptop balanced on my knees, reviewing documents that could dismantle his entire life. I closed it gently as he stormed in. His face was flushed, eyes burning, the envelope clutched like a weapon he didn't know how to use. What the hell is this? He shoved the papers toward me, voice cracking. Divorce papers? Today of all days. I met his rage with stillness. I thought it fit nicely with your schedule. You wanted to start a new life. I'm just helping speed the transition. You had no right. I had every right. My voice cut him off, sharp and steady. Just as you had the right to choose Cassandra. We all make choices, Gregory. His lips curled into something smug. The prenup expired years ago. Any lawyer will tell you that. I let a small smile break. Actually, it didn't. Section 12 keeps the fidelity clause in effect for the duration of the marriage. If you'd bothered consulting an attorney, you'd know that. Oh wait, you didn't, did you? The color drained from his face. I watched reality sink its teeth into him. The prenup he demanded to protect himself all those years ago had just become the blade poised to cut him down. The house, the Savannah property, his portion of retirement, all slipping through his fingers. His grand public exit had just turned into the most expensive mistake of his life. "You can't do this to me," he whispered, collapsing onto the couch we once dreamed on. "We built this life together. And you chose to end it," I said softly. "Just not the way you planned." His phone buzzed in his pocket insistently. Cassandra, no doubt, wondering why her shining knight had failed to show. He ignored it, clinging to his performance. "You've always been calculating, Bianca. But this is cold. What about us? What about 28 years? Does none of that matter?" I studied him. The man who once held me through the grief of 2 miscarriages. The man who once surprised me with Charleston sunsets on our 10th anniversary. When had he changed? Or had this always been him, and I had been too loyal to see? "Our history meant everything," I told him. "That's why your betrayal cuts so deep." His face softened for a flicker, like he thought he found an opening. "Then maybe we can fix this." "I made a mistake. People make mistakes." I leaned closer, my words like steel. "This wasn't a mistake. This was a year-long conspiracy. You siphoned money. You shopped for houses with her. You choreographed a public humiliation for me. That's not a mistake. That's strategy."
His jaw tightened.
"You're exaggerating." I picked up my phone, opened a recording. "Press play." His voice filled the room. "After the graduation, I'll tell her. A public setting is better. She won't make a scene." Then Cassandra's voice. "And she has no idea about the money." Gregory again. "None. Bianca trusts me completely. That's her weakness."
His face blanched.
He stammered. "You recorded me? That's illegal." "Not in Georgia." "One-party consent," I replied, my tone clinical. "And I didn't record your private moments with Cassandra. I'm not cruel. Just your plans to defraud me." He shot to his feet, pacing, panic overtaking him. "I need to make some calls." "Of course," I said. "Your attorney would be a good start. I'll be staying at Diana's tonight." He spun, stunned. "Diana's? My sister's house." I nodded. "She's furious with you, Gregory. She was the one who saw you and Cassandra last Christmas. She confronted you first. You lied to her. When she realized you wouldn't stop, she came to me." It hit him like a blow. His sister, his ally, had chosen me. "Everyone's betraying me," he muttered, broken. "Ironic, isn't it?" I said, lifting my purse and the overnight bag I'd packed earlier. "You have until tomorrow evening to clear your things. After that, the locks change." I moved toward the door. Behind me, his voice cracked, desperation finally seeping through. "What about Amelia? Have you thought about how this affects her?" His words sliced through me, and for the first time that day, my calm cracked. My voice rose, sharp and raw. "Don't you dare use our daughter as a shield, Gregory. You weren't thinking about Amelia when you built your beachside fantasy with Cassandra." His phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, groaned. "Problem?" I asked, though I already knew. "She's at the apartment," he muttered. "Moved her things in." I let out a small, cold smile. "The apartment in both your names? The lease you signed last month?" He nodded slowly, confusion in his eyes. "You might want to call the leasing office. That application never went through. It was flagged for credit issues. The agent called our home phone for verification." I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "I handled it myself." The color drained from his face. I turned and walked out the door, leaving him to choke on the unraveling of his perfect plan. Piece by piece, his new life was collapsing. Diana's bungalow was across town, tucked near the university where she taught literature. A modest, sunlit home filled with potted plants and overflowing bookshelves, her sanctuary. When she opened the door, she wrapped me in a fierce hug. "I just heard from Amelia," she whispered. "Are you okay?" "Better than I expected," I admitted, following her to the kitchen. A bottle of wine was already open. She poured 2 glasses, her hands trembling with restrained anger. "I can't believe he did that," she said. "The restaurant, in front of everyone? He's lost his mind." "It was meant to humiliate me," I explained, taking the glass. "A public execution. If I fought back, I'd look hysterical." Her face darkened. "My brother always loved theatrics, but this is cruel." We settled into her sunroom, the evening light spilling across the floor. Diana had never married. She chose freedom, academia, her own path. I'd envied her once, her unshackled life. Tonight I admired it. "What did you put in that envelope?" she asked, curiosity edged with awe. I told her everything. The divorce filing, the bank transfers, the prenuptial clause Gregory had forgotten would bury him. Diana shook her head, almost laughing. "I remember when he demanded that prenup. Father had just given him money for that first business. He was so desperate to protect it. The irony is delicious." My phone rang. "Amelia." I braced myself. "Mom," her voice cracked the second I answered. "I'm coming over to Aunt Diana's." "You don't have to. I'm already on my way. Dad's telling everyone you've lost your mind, that you've been plotting this. He's saying awful things." Of course he was. Gregory had always rewritten history to make himself the victim. "Let him talk," I said. "The truth will catch up soon enough." 20 minutes later, Amelia appeared. Still in her graduation dress, makeup streaked, eyes red from tears. She collapsed into my arms like she did as a child after nightmares. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, muffled against my shoulder. "I didn't want to ruin your final semester," I whispered. "You earned this day. You deserve joy." She pulled back, wiping her face. "Well, Dad ruined it anyway." We moved into Diana's living room. I told her everything, the affair, the hidden money, the staged humiliation. Amelia sat quietly, listening, the weight of betrayal settling on her shoulders. "I knew something was wrong," she admitted finally. "He's been distracted, always on his phone. But I never imagined this." Diana spoke gently. "None of us want to see the truth when it's someone we love." My phone buzzed again. A text from Philip Anderson, my attorney. "Emergency filing approved. Accounts frozen. Gregory's access cut down to crumbs. Enough to live, not enough to play house by the ocean." I showed the message. "Good," Amelia said firmly. "He deserves it." Her loyalty filled me with warmth, but I couldn't let anger harden her heart. "He's still your father. Whatever happens between us, your bond with him is separate." She shook her head. "Maybe one day, but not now." He hugged me this morning, told me how proud he was, while planning to destroy our family hours later. The doorbell rang. Diana rose, but her expression when she returned told me everything before she spoke. "It's Gregory, and he's not alone." I stood as she led them in. Cassandra hovered near the doorway, shifting awkwardly, her eyes darting like a cornered animal. 17 years younger than me. Blonde. Confident in the shallow way people are when they've never been tested by fire. Gregory had shed his desperation. Now he wore fury like armor. "Bianca, this has to stop," he barked. "Unfreeze the accounts. Let's talk like adults." Amelia stepped forward, a shield between us. "Maybe you should have been an adult before you humiliated Mom in front of everyone." Gregory's eyes flicked to her, as if realizing for the first time his daughter was in the room. "Amelia, this doesn't involve you." "Doesn't involve me?" She cut in, her voice sharp as glass. "You blew up our family on my graduation day, and it doesn't involve me?" Amelia's voice cracked the air like thunder. Cassandra reached for Gregory's arm, her voice soft, nervous. "Greg, maybe we should go." He shook her hand away, jaw tight. "No. I'm not leaving until Bianca agrees to be rational." Diana stepped forward, her arms crossed, eyes blazing. "My sister-in-law seems to be the only rational one here. You're the one who created this mess, Gregory." I stayed seated, calm, steady. For decades I had been the peacekeeper, the one who swallowed conflict, the one who kept the family running smoothly. That role had drained me dry. Tonight, I had finally laid it down. The accounts will remain frozen until the preliminary hearing, I said, my voice even. That's 3 days from now. The judge will determine asset division at that time. 3 days? Gregory sputtered. What am I supposed to do until then? You have your personal account, I reminded him, letting the words hang heavy. The one you've been funneling money into all year. That should tide you over. Cassandra's head snapped toward him. You have a separate account? How much? Her voice trembled between anger and disbelief. The cracks in their alliance widened. Gregory ignored her, refusing to answer. This is vindictive, he said, his voice rising. This isn't you, Bianca. I met his eyes, unwavering. Then perhaps you never really knew me. Just as I never really knew you. Amelia turned to Cassandra, her face tight with fury. Did you know that he planned to announce it at my graduation party? To blindside my mom in front of everyone. Cassandra shifted uncomfortably. I thought he would talk to her privately. The public announcement, it wasn't what I expected. Gregory shot her a look of betrayal. Their perfect front was crumbling before my eyes. I think you both should leave, Diana said firmly, her voice slicing through the tension. You've done enough damage for one day. Gregory turned to Amelia, desperate now. Sweetheart, relationships change. People grow apart. You must understand that. But Amelia's face hardened, her voice cutting deeper than any courtroom ruling. What I understand is that you're a coward. You couldn't even give Mom the dignity of a private conversation. What I understand is that you stole from us, while I was working 2 jobs to pay for textbooks because you said money was tight. Gregory paled. That's not how it was. It's exactly how it was. Amelia snapped, her voice sharp with truth. Please leave, Dad. I can't even look at you right now. The silence that followed was suffocating. Finally, Gregory turned, Cassandra trailing behind him like a shadow. At the doorway, he paused, glaring back at me. This isn't over, Bianca. I'll fight you. I held his gaze, steady as stone. You're welcome to try. When the door closed behind them, Amelia collapsed against me on the sofa, her tears unstoppable. I've never spoken to Dad like that. I wrapped an arm around her. Sometimes standing up for what's right hurts. But it's necessary. Diana returned with fresh glasses of wine, her voice steady, but her hands trembling slightly. To new beginnings. She raised her glass. I met her toast, silent but resolute. Endings carry grief, but they also carry possibility. The preliminary hearing came on a rainy Tuesday morning, the courthouse gray and cold. I walked in beside Philip, my attorney. Gregory arrived with a lawyer he had grabbed in haste, a corporate associate, young and untested, completely out of his depth in family law. It was another consequence of Gregory's reckless planning. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes and no patience for theatrics, adjusted her glasses and examined the prenuptial agreement. This document is in order, she said. Do you contest its validity? Gregory's lawyer shifted nervously. Your Honor, we believe the agreement has expired due to the time that has passed. The judge lifted the document, her voice cool as she read aloud. Section 18. Duration. The term of the marriage plus any legal proceedings related to its dissolution. No expiration date indicated. Gregory leaned forward, whispering frantically to his lawyer, who looked increasingly cornered. Furthermore, the judge continued, the evidence of systematic transfers violates disclosure requirements in Section 23. She shuffled the papers, then looked directly at Gregory. I am ruling to maintain the freeze on joint accounts pending full financial discovery. Mr. Caldwell's personal account will remain accessible. The family home will remain in Mrs. Caldwell's possession, as stipulated in the infidelity clause. Gregory's face flushed deep red. This is outrageous, he muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. The judge's gaze snapped to him, sharp as steel. Mr. Caldwell, I suggest you review the agreement you signed more carefully. This court reconvenes in 30 days after full discovery. When we stepped into the corridor, Gregory caught up to me. His voice dropped, almost pleading. Bianca, please. 28 years. That has to count for something. It did, I said quietly. It counted for everything. Until you decided it didn't. I walked away, leaving him standing alone in the sterile hallway, the weight of his decisions pressing down for the first time. Word spread quickly through our circle. Friends called daily. Some to offer comfort, others hunting for gossip. I said little, holding my silence with dignity. Gregory and I are separating, I told them. These things happen. But behind closed doors, his image was crumbling. The proud businessman, the devoted husband, the man who had built his life on appearances was now stripped bare. The financial freeze left him powerless. The beachfront property he promised Cassandra vanished. The future he tried to build with lies dissolved in the cold light of truth. The luxury car Gregory had placed a deposit on was gone. Cancelled. Just another dream slipping through his fingers. 2 weeks after the hearing, Diana called. I could hear the amusement laced in her voice. Have you heard the latest? She asked. I braced myself.
No.
What now? Cassandra moved out. I let out a slow breath. Already. It didn't surprise me, but the speed of her exit was remarkable. Diana chuckled softly. Apparently, she just discovered Gregory's business isn't thriving like he claimed. The grand savings account he bragged about doesn't exist. She told Jennifer she wasn't signing up for a man with financial problems. I couldn't help it. I laughed. A genuine, unrestrained laugh. For decades, Gregory had been a master illusionist. But the curtain had finally dropped, and the audience had seen the truth. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. The financial security I had safeguarded separately, long before Gregory's betrayals, had become my foundation. He never expected that. Never imagined I'd use that independence to chart my own course. I rented a small office downtown, nothing fancy, just enough space for a desk, 2 chairs, and a pot of coffee that never stopped brewing. But it was mine. It was the beginning of the consultancy I had dreamed of for years. My first clients were 2 women caught in the storm of divorce. I helped them sort through accounts, understand assets, and prepare for futures their husbands had never intended them to control. Word of mouth spread. Soon, women came to me with stories of widowhood, career upheavals, and financial uncertainty. For the first time in decades, my work didn't feel like survival. It felt like purpose. Amelia, now working at a marketing firm in Charleston, called me often. I'm so proud of you, Mom, she said one night, her voice glowing with admiration. You're helping women in their darkest moments. I smiled. I'm just doing what I wish someone had done for me sooner. Preparing women for whatever storms might come. It felt different being valued for my mind, for my expertise, not just my role as caregiver, wife, or mother. That shift was intoxicating. The final divorce hearing fell on what would have been our 29th anniversary. Fitting, I thought, to close a chapter of nearly 3 decades on the very day we once pledged forever. Gregory walked in looking worn, his face lined with stress. His business, I later learned, was collapsing without my financial oversight. Cassandra was long gone, already seen on the arm of a wealthy developer in Savannah. Most of our mutual friends had turned away after learning the full truth. The judge reviewed the documents carefully, then delivered her ruling. The prenup stood in full. Gregory was left with his personal possessions, his faltering business, and whatever remained in his private account, barely enough for a modest apartment after legal fees. I retained our home, my retirement accounts, 70% of our joint investments. The exact outcome the fidelity clause in the prenup had guaranteed. Poetic justice. The very document Gregory once demanded to protect himself had become the blade that severed him from everything he valued. As we stepped out of the courtroom, Gregory approached me. His voice was quiet, broken. I made a terrible mistake. Is there any chance we could? No, my answer was gentle, but final. That door is closed. His shoulders sagged. For once, I saw sincerity in his eyes. I understand, he whispered. I hope you find happiness, Bianca. You deserve it. It was the first honest thing I had heard from him in years. 6 months later, my consultancy had a name, Caldwell Financial Transitions. I had outgrown the small office and moved into a larger space with 2 associates at my side. Clients came in waves, women looking not only for financial guidance but for hope. I gave them both. Amelia visited often, her pride evident. One afternoon, as we shared coffee in my new office, she said, You know what's ironic? If Dad had just been honest, he might have kept half of everything. I smiled softly. Sometimes people can't see past what they want in the moment. And in chasing it, they lose everything. The woman who wants to find herself only as Gregory's wife and Amelia's mother had become someone new. Mentor, business owner, advocate. That cream-colored envelope I placed beside Gregory's plate in the restaurant, it hadn't only been my escape plan. It was the key to a door I never knew existed. And behind that door, I found something more powerful than revenge. I found reinvention. In protecting my financial future, I discovered something far more valuable. I had reclaimed myself.